This is one of Dumfries' 2 assists today in the Holland versus Sweden match. I'll call them Holland, not the Netherlands. I just can't get used to it. And although it hasn't finished yet right now, as I'm recording this, it's around the 71st minute. It's not out of the question that he could get another one. Hey, the right back, the new right back for Real Madrid, how he's performing, how he's playing in this match, it really fills us with a lot of optimism. And maybe it takes away a bit of that fear we might have had because of the price, which has been low for what I think this player is worth and what he has been showing at Inter in recent years. Maybe we were worried they were trying to trick us because of the ankle issue, like maybe we were getting a bad deal, but I see him doing really well. And by the way, this also extends to Holland to talk a bit more about the World Cup, but I see the kid as fantastic, like I said. An assist to Broby, this forward who scored Holland's first 2 goals, and another to Agapo, who is a spectacular player. And now talking a bit about the match, we'll get to the rest soon, like Olise and all that. I think Sweden, I insist, hasn't finished yet. I'm not saying they'll come back. That's almost impossible, but Sweden deserved a bit more. It seemed to me like too harsh a punishment what's happening to them, but that doesn't take away from considering Holland as one of the favorites, right? As always, they've had such bad luck in the World Cups, even playing in 3 finals and losing all 3. But I think that's where their image comes from. I think they're a bit slow, right? The image, well, I'm sorry, guys, I don't know why. Sometimes these things happen, and when you're recording, you can't fix it at that moment. I hope the sound is okay. But let's say that the Netherlands in those finals, and we all remember the last one, the one they played against Spain, they betrayed themselves, right? Because it's a team that has historically always played good football. And yet in those finals, well, we know how it turned out, at least in a couple of them, especially the one we remember most, the 2010 one, where they just started kicking and all that. I think they'll go far. The Netherlands is a strong team, even with the draw against Japan in the first match, since Japan is also very good. But today, well, they gave them a real lesson. Not so much in terms of play, because I think Sweden wasn't all that bad, but in terms of verticality. It's a very vertical and very, very dangerous team. Let's go now to the statement from Real Madrid about Michael Olise in the last few hours, which has drawn a lot of attention because Real Madrid doesn't usually do this. And when they have, it's been about players they ended up not signing. And what also matters a lot to Real Madrid here is the relationship with Bayern, which is a club they have a good relationship with. But watch out. They have ended up not signing players when they've released this kind of statement, except for that statement in November 2023 about Mbappe, because the following summer, basically 9 months later, or even a bit less than that, they ended up signing him. But, well, it's true that the story with Mbappe had been going on for a long time, and precisely with Paris and PSG, we didn't get along very well back then. But, well, I don't know how you interpret it. The statement says that in response to reports in various media about our club's interest in the Bayern player Michael Olise, it wishes to state that it has not had any direct or indirect contact with the aforementioned footballer, his representatives, or people close to him. Madrid also wants to highlight its excellent institutional relationship with Bayern, marked by a long history of mutual respect, collaboration, and admiration. These speculations do not correspond to reality. Both clubs have always maintained a relationship based on trust and mutual respect. Well, here it's more of an institutional matter than anything else. If at any point Madrid is interested in Michael Olise, which I think they are, how could they not be, right? And surely, well, Olise, I think they are interested. How could they not be? And they're probably aware of what Bayern would ask for. But it's very difficult to get a player like that out of that team. I've always been very pessimistic about this move from Madrid. Look, there hasn't been any statement regarding Enzo Fernandez. It's just that Madrid is more involved in that deal than in this one. Honestly, this one always seemed very difficult to me. And above all, it's not that you don't need the player, who is very good. If Michael Olise joins, someone up front must leave. How will they all play together? And then there's that, negotiating with Bayern, who are a direct rival and who will ask you for an amount that's not unreasonable, because now great players are worth that much. But, well, you pretty much won't be able to afford it, especially if you also want a midfielder, which will cost you a lot of money. And that's what Real Madrid needs most, much more than forwards, right? But, well, let me know in the comments, if you'll pardon the redundancy, what you think about this statement from Real Madrid. And then I wanted to talk a bit about this Odegaard situation. See, it already slipped out. It's just that Nico Paz might end up becoming the new Odegaard. And I'm seeing some very strange things there. pay attention to this information from Ramon, because he says, look at Sweden. They're really trying. What a shame. They had a goal disallowed, but I don't think the Jokers deserved more. That's not bad. Well, in the first match, they scored a lot of goals against Tunisia. But today, Memphis Depay is still with the Netherlands. Incredible. Well, he was substituted. Let's see how the match ends. But I think the punishment is excessive in any case, about Nico Paz. He says the Argentine at Real Madrid. As I said, they're taking time. It's hard to fit him in if he wants lots of playing time. There's still no final decision made, and they're considering several scenarios. The idea of several scenarios makes me nervous when this kind of thing starts like this. And look, Odegaard arrived at Madrid, but once he was there, he said, look, man, and that was in Ancelotti's first season, of Ancelotti's second stint. He said, look, it was during preseason, right? If I remember right, I'm leaving here. I was better off at Arsenal where I knew I'd play. And look at Odegaard. I mean, a player from a team that just won the Premier League, from a team that just finished as runner-up in Europe, and who already knocked us out last year, with him putting in a great performance in both matches. And, well, he saw his future there because he knew he was going to play. And I think that Nico Paz, unfortunately, in light of this information, is thinking the same thing. Hey, why would I go to Madrid? Am I just going to be a substitute? But also, he definitely would be. With Mourinho, I feel confident when it comes to meritocracy, but it's very difficult, or it would be very difficult, to fit Nico Paz in. For me, he does fit, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like the usual, he arrives, and in the first match, he's definitely a substitute. That's just the feeling I get. There are already many players in his position, like Güller. There's Bellingham. And this guy, his parents and his agents see that, and they don't completely trust it. Maybe, although it doesn't satisfy me because I would want him now, he should stay one more year at Como, but maybe they're talking about other things. I've even heard people say that Madrid will get him back now for 10 and sell him to the Premier League for 60 or 70, and Madrid can't do that in the same transfer window. They would have to wait until winter to do that. So I don't see that option. In fact, I think it's impossible. Share your thoughts in the comments, because I'm starting not to like it. I'm really not liking this whole thing. And look, here's someone who plays in his position, someone I really like, someone we care about a lot, Arda Güler. Yesterday, well, he couldn't help his team stay alive in this World Cup. And I already said it on Twitter last night. Actually, it was already early morning in Spain. What happened to Turkey was a tragedy. I mean, 65 shots. Between the shots off target and the shots on goal in both matches against Australia and Paraguay, Paraguay scored the goal at the beginning. Turkey keeps hitting the posts, balls that go just past the post, all kinds of attacks. It's clear that if Turkey had Ousmane Dembele, Olise, Mbappe, and Vinicius, well, yes, well, they would have scored at least one goal, and they couldn't score a single goal. But with what they already had, it was enough. And Güller, I saw him play well. Güller, I haven't seen Güller play badly in these two matches. I don't know. Tell me. Because then there are people, a lot of people talking without knowing, and they haven't watched Turkey's matches, and they say, look, Güller's a failure. Well, no, damn it. You have to actually watch things. It's not Güller's failure. It's his national team's failure, since they were expected to reach at least the round of 16 or quarterfinals and make the tournament more exciting. They also had a good Euro Cup. Turkey, though, later in these World Cup qualifiers, Spain scored 6 or 7 goals against them in Istanbul. That's a typical match. It's a trap. I mean, it's a trap because this one I'm watching now, I think there is a difference between the Netherlands and Sweden, but it's not a 4-1 or 4-0 difference like it got at one point. When a team is scoring goals and goals and goals, well, like that 5-1 from the Netherlands against Spain in the 2014 World Cup and all that. I mean, there are game situations, or the thrashing that Barca gave us for that matter, damn. There are game situations where a team starts to fall into misfortune, the goals start coming in, and maybe there isn't that much difference in quality. And I think that was the case with that Spain-Turkey match in the qualifiers. Turkey is a good team, but they just weren't lucky. And it's just a tough break. Yesterday, I was really upset like a Turk, but well, at least a goal to stay alive. There was no way. Everything they shot just went wide, it went out. And they wasted it, right? Unfortunately, it makes me feel really sorry for them. What happened to Güller's team? But there's one good thing about this, and it's the following. At least he'll do the whole preseason with Mourinho, or most of the preseason. So maybe he'll arrive a little later than the rest. But he'll spend a lot of time with Mo. By the way, Mo, they're saying he doesn't want to let go of Gonzalo this summer. He wants to see him. He wants to spend time with him to see if he can stay on the team, which also makes me very happy. and we'll talk about Hendrik in the next video, because otherwise this one will get a little too long, because there's something really funny about Hendrik that I want to show you. But anyway, that's the only good part. Just like someone like Güller leaving before the championship, right? It bothers us to see him sad, and the boy was clearly affected. In the interview, he admitted there was no excuse, they made many mistakes, and apologized to the country, saying such errors can't be made. But anyway, if you look at the chances, really, it was something else. There was even one that hit both posts. I mean, crossbar post, It's something that I always try to think that luck doesn't exist naturally, because we are governed by physical laws. But man, it's just that looking at both matches, it really makes you think, right? Well, all the best to you. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel, please. Comment, share, and that's it. Good news with Dumfries. It's going to be really cool to see his duel with Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think it's going to be, look, speaking of starters and substitutes, I think Dumfries is going to be more of a starter than Trent. And knowing Mourinho, maybe he'll put Trent in the midfield, because this Dutch guy, the Flying Dutchman, right? The consistent Dutchman, always going up and down the wing. It looks great with Cucurella on the other side. We're excited, but last year we felt the same, and look how that ended. But I think this year, because they're also very Mourinho-type players. Look, Cucurella was just talking about it recently in an interview. Yes, in the press conference he gave, I think it was in the press conference he gave with the Spanish national team, he talked about how he got in touch with Mourinho, his relationship with Mourinho during a Benfica versus Chelsea match. And Mourinho pointed out something that Cucurella had done with his teammates some time ago or something like that. And Cucu said that he liked that the coach noticed that human aspect of the footballer in terms of camaraderie with his teammates and so on. And well, that left him with a really good feeling that the coach noticed those qualities beyond just the physical ones, right? And well, it's what we've always said, right? Mourinho tries to have soldiers, and I think with Dumfries, with Cucurella and the rest, and then those who aren't, he'll win them over. He'll have them. That's it for now. Take care. High five. Hype up this video, please. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, comment, share, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.